we got to talk about this Big Ten race because the Big Ten, I think, is the most entertaining and exciting and interesting, league championship race that we have coming down here at the end. We had coming into the weekend, there were 4 teams within one game of first place. Purdue lost at Michigan State. Wisconsin won at Rutgers. Illinois beat up on Michigan. I believe that was on the road. And then Ohio State lost at Maryland, which means that we now have a situation where Wisconsin is heading, I believe they're heading on the road to play at Purdue with the chance to win.
They host Purdue.
They host Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue.
Oh, that's right, because Johnny Davis went nuts in Mackey. So they host Purdue with a chance to more or less effectively win the Big Ten regular season title outright, because Nebraska is the last team that they play, and Nebraska does not count as a basketball team in the year of our Lord 2022. Prohm, I'm going to go to you first on this one on Purdue. I've said it over and over again. The issues that they have at the point guard spot and defensively, it's a little too much for me to buy into them as a Final Four threat. They went on the road and they lost to a Michigan State team that had, French carded. They had lost 5 of the last 6, 3 in a row. We were talking about them as potentially missing the NCAA tournament. How worried are you about Purdue, Pro?
I still like Purdue. I like them. I think they're a very good basketball team, but I think the one thing we've hit on all year and people have talked about their weaknesses against their strength is the guard play. And you look at when you break down the Michigan State game, the guys that delivered were, the 2 big guys, and then Jaden, those guys, had the bulk of their points. Their guard play struggled, and then Sasha's got to have more than 2 points for them. I think, he can't go 1 for 6. He's got to make shots, and they got to take care of the ball from that standpoint. They had a great opportunity, obviously, to put themselves in a position for a Big Ten championship. But I wouldn't be surprised if Purdue can go to Wisconsin and win. The Big Ten, they always seem to end up with a 3-way tie to me. I've said this before on the show, like it always seems to end up with a 3-way or a 4-way tie. Wisconsin controls its own destiny to win it outright. But if they get beat by Purdue, you're probably looking at a 3-way champion this year with Purdue, Wisconsin, and Illinois.
I think, I talked to a Big Ten coach in December about Purdue when Purdue was scorching hot, right? You thought Purdue could be the number 1 team in the country. And he said, look, everybody in this league knows that the way you stop Purdue is you should stop Sasha. And Sasha Stefanovic was a non-factor in this game. Like, he didn't have a clean look. It felt like really all night. They did a tremendous job, Michigan State did, on him. But I think the larger concern with Purdue continues to be defensively. And I think one of the things that really, really concerns me is teams have a habit of producing career nights for their point guards when they're playing against Purdue. And AJ Hoggard and Tyson Walker combined for 19 points, 10 assists yesterday. Walker hits the game winner. Hoggard really controlled the second half. But you go through, right? Like let's go back to the Michigan game where Purdue got hammered. Devontae Jones had
Sweeney
11 points and 10 assists. He was tremendous. All right, let's go back to the Indiana game when they lost on the road. Rob Finney, career night. Xavier Johnson, maybe his best game as a Hoosier, right? Like these aren't world beaters that are torching this Purdue defense. Like at some point, again, great that these guys are stepping up in big moments, but it's concerning that these point guards that are struggling the rest of the season, like we talk about Indiana, we say, man, the point guard play needs to be better. Everyone's saying, yeah, the point guard play needs to be better. Against Purdue, the point guard play is pretty darn good. And I think that's a sign about the Purdue defense.
Yeah. And the other thing, really too, when you echo on that game is to win on the road. I mean, Purdue turned it over 17 times, and then Michigan State shot 45% from 3. But I think the one thing Michigan State showed in that game is I think the one thing to me when I look at their Michigan State is they've got a lot of balance. And I think they had 6 guys get 8 or more. And so their balance was at a high level on Saturday, and that gives them a chance to win if they can, kind of divvy up the scoring a little bit. But I still like Purdue, but obviously there's the question marks because of the guard play.
Yeah, Carter, I'm going to let you talk your shit about Michigan State here in 1 second, but I do want to make one point. Okay. Purdue, the way that they're built, elite offense, number 1 offense in the country, sub 100 defense, according to Ken Palm. The 2 teams that reminds me of, one, last year's Iowa, right? They lost in the second round. They got smacked by Oregon. 2012, Missouri. right? They had the best offense in college basketball, and they were ranked 154th in defensive efficiency. That team lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Norfolk State. Shout out to Kyle O'Quinn. So to me, like, this is the Purdue is the formula for a team that gets knocked out of the NCAA tournament early. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Carter, tell me a little bit about Michigan State. And then I know that you were at the Michigan-Illinois game today. How good are the Illini? Can the Illini end up finding? Are they going to be able to find a way to win this thing?
Yeah, so let me comment real quick on the Michigan State Purdue thing. Like, as much as I loved seeing my Michigan State Spartans get that win, that was such an indictment on how bad Purdue is defensively. Like, as good as they are offensively, like defensively, no. Like you mentioned at the top of this show that I'm a guy who averaged 5 points a game in college. I would love to see Purdue on defense. It makes no sense to me that these guys are this bad on defense, as far as them just not wanting to buy in to playing defense. They have athletes. Jaden Ivey should be a good defender. Sasha Stefanovic is not a world beater or quick by any stretch of the means, but he should be an okay defender. He's 6'5". You have guys like Eric Hunter as well. The fact that they aren't a better defensive team is so scary to me, and it hasn't improved throughout the whole year. So that's the reason why I'm kind of out on them. And they made Michigan State basketball team look good in the half-court offense when we haven't looked good in the half-court offense all year, and we were able to do whatever we want. So as much joy as that brought me, it was more of an indictment on Purdue's defense, and it's definitely scary hours for the boys at Mackey. But to comment on Illinois, I think that, I've kind of been staying strong on my fact that I think if I had to pick a Final Four team from the Big Ten, it would be Illinois. I think that they have a dominant force in Kofi, and the way that Plummer's shooting the ball, Trent Frazier is a dog by any, I don't care what numbers you look at. He's just straight dog, just a dog. Like, you throw him out there. If I want to go to war with a dude in the Big Ten, like, give me Trent Frazier, because he's going to give it to you and he's going to go every single night. So the fact that you can have a National Player of the Year in the candidate in the middle, like Kofi, who's as dominant as he is, and he's able to kick out to guys and be surrounded by 40% 3-point shooters. I mean, I think it works extremely well. I think they just need to kind of figure out things with how Curbelo is going to fit into that fold a little bit, but I really like that team, and I think they're out of the Big Ten. They would be my pick to kind of be able to make that Final Four run.
Yeah. So Ohio State lost at Maryland today, which probably eliminates them from this conversation, right? I can't imagine that everybody else is going to lose every game that they play. It's just not going to happen. So that means that on Tuesday we have Purdue and Wisconsin playing, like I mentioned, what is it, a de facto Big Ten regular season title game, especially if Wisconsin is able to find a way to win. Prohm, going to you on this one, man. The last time that we saw these two teams play, Johnny Davis looked like the second coming of Kobe Bryant, had 37 points, 14 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and took over in Mackey Arena. How does Purdue stop him? How do you slow him down? Is there a way for them to do it? And do you think Wisconsin is going to find a way to get this win?
I mean, Jaden Ivey is going to have to step up, from a defense, because you got to think he's the one with the length and size and athleticism to guard Johnny, and obviously those coaches are going to make the best decision for their team. But if I'm just looking at rosters and matchups, you would think he's the one that's got to take it on. And obviously those are the high end draft pick guys, or the guys that are climbing up draft boards, from that standpoint. But it's a great opportunity for Wisconsin to put themselves at least to get a share of the league championship on Tuesday night. But I think Purdue's come so far to where every time we've kind of counted them out, they've won a big game. Now, obviously, their guard play's got to be better. And the funny thing about it is, we made in those point guards numbers about all these other teams. The one thing Purdue does in transition is usually make it really, really hard on opposing point guards, because they're jamming the outlet and denying the point guard and picking him up and really making tough on him. And so I would not be shocked if Purdue went in there and beat Wisconsin on Tuesday night. And then, just like I said in years past, we'll have a 3-way champion, and Carter's, Illini will jump in there and get a share of the championship, and deservingly so, because what Illinois has been able to do, the bumps and bruises and things that they've been through with suspensions and injuries for lengthy amount of times, guys in and out of the lineup, for them to be able to weather all the storm and be in position to win a Big Ten title, hats off to them.
I was at the first meeting between Wisconsin and Purdue. I'll be at the second one. I'm very excited about that game in Madison on Tuesday night. Jaden Ivey did a much better job defensively on Johnny Davis than anyone else for Purdue. Like, so Jaden got 2 fouls very early in that ball game, like 6 or 7 minutes in, and they did play him some of the rest of the first half, but they didn't guard him. They didn't match him up with Johnny to try to protect him, which made a lot of sense. And when Johnny got Eric Hunter on him or Isaiah Thompson, it was game over. I mean, he's too strong. He's too big. Like he was feeling himself in the mid range. Like, there was nothing you could do to stop him. And I think Jaden has to take this matchup personal. Like, he knows that, Johnny, got all the scouts' attention when these teams met the first time.
We want to see that, right? Like, I feel like that's the knock on Jaden right now at this point, is that he's this unbelievable talent, but we've never seen him to this point step up and say, okay, that guy's kicking my ass. That's not happening. Right. I think this is not just a big moment for Purdue's season, but I think this is a big moment in the narrative of who is Jaden Ivey as a player, who is he as a prospect, what is he going to be at the next level? Like, these are the moments where you want to see that dude step up and say, no, F that. Like, I'm winning this matchup. That is not happening again. I got my ass kicked last time. That is not happening again. Right.
Yep. 100%. Right. It's a mindset thing. And I think it's on both ends of the floor. Right. Like, I almost worry that Jaden's going to come out and try to do a little bit too much. Like, I thought that in the first half against Michigan State, when things weren't working, Jaden was super aggressive, which at times he hasn't been. But I thought it was to the detriment of Purdue's offense because he was turning the ball over. He's a little bit wild. I'm just really curious to see what his mindset is going to that game. Is he in, I need to kill because this is my draft moment. This is our Big Ten championship moment. Or does he come in with the composure of, look, I've been in big games before. I've played in the NCAA tournament. I need to let the game come to me. We need to get our big men involved because that's how we win. We're Purdue, and I'm going to make my plays when it matters, and I'm going to really lock down Johnny Davis. I think if he does that, I think that will be to the success of Purdue. I don't think Jaden needs to dominate this game with the ball in his hands. He needs to dominate the game with how he controls the game and with how he defends Johnny Davis.
Yeah, he needs to lock down Johnny Davis. The Big Ten is the weirdest league in the conference, or weirdest league in the country, because it feels like with all of these great home court advantages, nobody actually wins at home. Wisconsin has beaten everybody on the road, can't beat Rutgers in their own building.